Hello, my name is Jason O, and welcome to a little discussion video I have about the news that Lionsgate is in negotiations and they are pretty much developing a live-action adaptation of the Naruto manga and anime series. If you don't know, if you're not familiar with the manga anime world, the manga was created by Masashi Kishimoto. I probably butchered that name, but basically it's a series that started in 1999. The anime series was started in like early 2000s. I believe, and so definitely this series is still going on right now. I mean, the manga series just ended, the anime is still going on in the sequel series Shippuden, but definitely if you're an anime fan, you're either cringing at the fact that they're working on a live action adaptation here in Hollywood, in America, or you're optimistic like me, thinking that they can try to do something different and maybe something good with the Naruto series, because definitely have a lot of issues with the anime series. Definitely not the biggest fan of Naruto. I think I'm very close to where they're at right now, so I'm pretty well caught up into this series, and so I definitely have a lot of problems with the character of Naruto and many other things as well about the series in general, and I think a live-action adaptation can actually help the series, you know, do different things with the series and sort of reimagine some different aspects of the series itself. If you're unfamiliar with Naruto, basically the synopsis of the series is described as this. Naruto Uzumaki, a hyperactive and a knucklehead ninja, lives in Konoha, the hidden leaf village. Moments prior to his birth, a huge demon known as the Kyuubi, the nine-tailed fox, attacks Konoha and wreaks havoc. In order to put an end to the Kyuubi's rampage, the leader of the village, the fourth Hokage, sacrificed his life and sealed the monstrous beast inside the newborn Naruto. Shunned because of the presence of the Kyuubi inside him, Naruto struggles to find his place in the village. He strives to become the Hokage of Konoha and meets many friends and foes along the way. And that's basically the whole plot of Naruto. It's just him going on these adventures with his friends in Sasuke, Sakura, and his teachers in Iruka and Kakashi as well. And that's basically the beginning parts of Naruto. Eventually the series does its plot does develop and goes into many different storylines as we do see. But basically just a sort of huge slice of life kind of thing of Naruto, and we see him grow up into the series, into a teenager, into a man, and learning new things along the way, sort of growing as a character in over like 700 episodes basically. So if you do want to binge watch this series, I think it's on Netflix right now, the original Naruto series. You can watch all of it in Crunchyroll, the Naruto series, and Shippuden as well. So if you do want to binge watch safely, but definitely there's a lot of episodes to get through if you do want to binge watch, if you've never watched Naruto before and you want to get into it before this live action adaptation or just in general. Definitely a lot of episodes to go through. I mentioned before that this manga series started in 1999, so there's definitely a ton of diehard fans out there who are relenting the fact that Lionsgate and Hollywood are working on a live-action adaptation of this, but definitely there's a lot of interesting things they can do, as I mentioned before. Naruto, I think he's a very annoying character, personally. You know, him sort of implementing his lifestyle onto others, his sort of tropes, and as a shonen protagonist, he's very annoying, in fact, as well, compared to other shonen protagonists of his era, and definitely I'm kind of glad that it's ending, because there's only so much you can do after this so many years. Definitely where they're at right now. They're working on Boruto movie, basically a movie about his son, and so definitely you can say this is a cash grab. Of course it is, because there's so much money more you can make, especially with the whole epilogue manga that they're making right now. I just think the creator of the series, he just wants a break from this after working on this for so long, but there's so much more merchandise and so many other things you can do with this, and so while Naruto is going to end sometime soon, I don't know about the anime series, but definitely the manga has already ended, but as the anime series continues and is coming to a close, a live-action adaptation could make a lot of money perhaps, but definitely I don't know if the diehard anime fans of Naruto are enough to sort of, you know, get enough box office for this film. And so that's why you have to get in the casual fans. That's who these films are made for. They're for the casual fans. You know, all the tropes and all the hates on the other live action stuff that Hollywood has worked on is criticized because they don't follow the adaptation or the source material of its original work. And sometimes you don't have to, because it's definitely hard to do that if you're trying to get a casual fan into these universe, and it's very hard to do that for many various reasons. And if you look at the comic book movies of today, Marvel, DC, you know, Fox, they're all working on this stuff here. They definitely go away from the source material a lot. I mean, definitely they take get some bits and pieces of it, but they usually go away from the source material many times, and definitely, it's very easy to say that since comic books kind of do that as well in its longer history of comic books, but definitely we've seen before that going away from the source material isn't always that bad as long as you do it in a good way that sort of, heightens the series or movie even more. And definitely I think that's what Naruto needs to do in this live action adaptation, go away from the source material. Definitely they don't need to go too far from the source material. I think there's some interesting things that you can keep, but definitely there are some things that you should probably take away. I mean, definitely in the beginning of the Naruto series, we have sort of an origin story, if you will, sort of getting introduced to Naruto and also him as a ninja growing as that and meeting some friends along the way. His relationship with Sasuke is a very complex one. I think you should keep in there. Make sure you do that very well. I mean, the whole them kissing scene, I don't know if you keep that in there, maybe just for fun, but I feel like we've grown a little bit since 1999 and the early 2000s from that type of comedy, so I'm not sure about that. And Sakura, that's a very interesting character because we've been sort of dying for strong female characters in today's movie atmosphere. We've been seeing a lot more strong female characters, and that is something I desire for most people. I mean, look at Lionsgate as a studio. They're working on the Hunger Games, Divergent, pretty strong female characters in those series. So is Sakura going to get a change? Because in the beginning of the Naruto series, she's pretty useless most of the time. She's mostly a damsel in distress character who is just wanting Sasuke to acknowledge her and like her. And that's pretty much the basis of her character. There's nothing really much there until you get to the Chunin exams, and then even after that, it takes a really long time until Shippuden, where she does, become herself useful and all that stuff there. And so are they going to change her character a little bit to make her more of a strong female protagonist, or maybe not protagonist, but at least a strong female character in this series? So I'm very curious on that there, because a lot of people have made memes and made fun of Sakura in the beginning of Naruto, but I think later on now in Shippuden that they really do respect her, but it took a really long time to do that, and you can't have that much time in a live action adaptation. You have to get this right in the first place, and then before you can go into sequels and develop these characters even more, you have to get it right the first time around before you try to develop these characters in future sequels. If you're trying to depend on sequels, that's probably a bad idea to go at. Definitely, it's very confusing to see what they're going to do because Avi Arad is producing this, and if you don't know about his sort of prestige and reputation, he is pretty much known for destroying the Spider-Man franchise for Sony. He made many changes, especially in Spider-Man 3, maybe Spider-Man 2. I'm sure he had many changes that he wanted to make, and we look at that. Spider-Man got rebooted twice, or at least he got rebooted once, and then they had to get another reboot thanks to Marvel with the deal that they made there. And so Avi Arad, definitely all his changes that he made into many notorious comic book films. He's a big fan of comic book films, but that's sort of to his detriment because he wants to see many different characters on the screen. He's mostly looking for dollars rather than looking for what the fans want. And so that's very curious to see. He's also working on another anime live action adaptation in Ghost of the Shell, starring Scarlett Johansson. That one seems to be pretty good so far. I mean, we haven't really heard much news about that except for a shooting schedule, which is set to shoot in January. And so a couple months in, Scarlett Johansson will be, shooting Ghost in the Shell. How will that do? We don't really know. I'm optimistic about that as well. Scarlett Johansson is a very great actress, and so as long as you get talent for these films, I'm okay with it. It doesn't really matter to me. And so that's the only important thing about the Naruto casting, which everyone will probably have a lot of things to say about. So the casting is important because who do you cast as Naruto? Who's your Sasuke? Because those are your two important characters. Kakashi is probably going to be an important casting as well. He's a very big fan favorite. I mean, we do see his face in a manga chapter. I'm not sure if it's an epilogue or just some other place, but we do eventually see his face in text, not in the anime series, but in text form. We do see his face, and so maybe that's not so important in the beginning stages of Naruto because you don't really see his face, so it doesn't really matter who you cast, just more if he can pull off the role. That's all that really matters there. And so I'm very curious on that and whether they make any important changes to this. I'm just only asking for minor changes in terms of characters and just making them more likable and more relatable, at least for me personally anyway. I could be wrong on that. Maybe you do relate to Naruto in some sort of way, but for me, I think minor changes to characters in terms of who they are as characters, but not the overall sense of who they are as characters. Just minor changes I would like to see in Naruto. So how good could this movie be? I'm not so sure. I'm giving it a 50-50 chance that it could be good and bad because of a recent track record that we have seen. I mean, look at the recent light novel manga adaptation of All You Need Is Kill, An Edge of Tomorrow, or Live Die Repeat. I don't know what they're calling it. Live Die Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow. They're working on a sequel right now. Look, they're talking about a sequel right now. I shouldn't say they're working on it. They're talking about one right now. And Tom Cruise, Emily Blunt killed it in that movie. I mean, that movie was awesome. And despite it having a weird title and bad marketing, it was a pretty good movie based on a manga and light novel adaptation of All You Need Is Kill. And so that's a good track record to have. It's all about what you did recently. You can always go back into some older films like Fist of the North Star and all that stuff there, or Dragon Ball Evolution, which happened like 6 years ago. And you also have Last Airbender, Speed Racer. I've actually seen Speed Racer myself, so I can't really comment on that. But another interesting one is Blood the Last Vampire. It's an adaptation of Blood. I think it's Blood or Blood Plus, that's a cross, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but still, that was an adaptation of that manga anime series, and I didn't really mind it. I thought it was a pretty decent movie. Is it awesome by any means? Not really, but definitely they kept us to the actors' Japanese origins at least. They did that good, but it didn't come out in a lot of theaters. It was very indie kind of release, and definitely I only saw it through Netflix and all that stuff there, but I didn't really mind the movie. It was pretty decent, very low budget, and that's another important thing as well for this Naruto movie. What's the budget for this? You know, how much can you do practical? How much can you do for effects? I think generally you can do a lot of practical effects for this movie, but the only, special effects would probably be the jutsus that they're going to be used, the Shadow Clone Jutsu, more importantly, and I guess some other minor things. They don't really go too crazy in the beginning of this series, but definitely later on they do go a lot more crazy with the special effects for the most part if we try and do this live action. And so definitely I think they can do a lot of practical effects for this, but definitely a wait and see what's going to happen, because there's lots of movies in development in Hollywood and not all of them get made. And so I'm not sure when this is going to get made, just the fact that they're negotiating for the rights and all that stuff there for Lionsgate. I'm not sure how much farther they can get into this, but they have a director so far, so that's something to get started there. But keep in mind that Akira has been in the works for a very long time as well, and so that hasn't really been made yet so far. I think it's been in the works since 2008, and so 7 years later, we're still waiting on an Akira live action film. There's also a Death Note live action movie of Adam Wingard directing. He's a very good director, so that's something very promising as well. So we are seeing some promising things in the live action anime world, at least for the American side. The Japanese side, they just worked on Attack on Titan, the first part of that whole film series or whatever they're doing there. They're like a part 1, part 2 kind of thing. Apparently, I haven't really seen the movie myself. The Attack on Titan live action movie goes very far away from the source material. It makes it a very different kind of film, and some fans like it, some fans don't, and definitely that kind of shows that going away from the source material does bring in some very mixed reactions. Whether it's good or not, it's depending on your personal preference, and that's really what it is. It's your personal preference. It's all subjective on what you want from a film, and so I think Naruto should go away from the source material a slight bit, not too much, just a little bit, just to add more to the characters like Sakura and Naruto as well, and just so the relationship between Naruto and Sasuke could be done a little bit better, just for a more modern take, that's not really too modern, but still there's some jokes in there that are a little dated. I think we've grown up from some jokes that would have been in the original Naruto series. I think you do a lot better, especially with Sakura. I think that's a more important thing, making sure Sakura is presented in a good light rather than just a stereotypical female character that we've seen in the past. But what are your thoughts on the live-action Naruto movie being in the works in Lionsgate, being directed by Michael Gracie and produced by Avi Arad? Those are only 3 things confirmed about this Naruto's movie. So are you excited for this? Are you optimistic like me? Are you worried? Are you angry? Put your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and just anything else that you want to put down about the Naruto live-action movie, put all those in the comment section down below. And so that's it for my discussion video about the Naruto live-action movie being made by Lionsgate. Definitely, I'm optimistic about this. I'm hoping they can do it well, because I would like to see a sort of, not really renaissance, but really more traction for anime live-action films. I think that'd be pretty cool to see in the live-action sense, as long as they pick the right titles and source materials to use. If you have any other suggestions of any other manga, light novel, anime adaptations that you would like to see, put all those in the comment section down below. I'd like to hear your suggestions for a live action film that would be pretty cool to see on the big screen. Definitely there's a ton of them that come to mind. I won't pull them all right away, but definitely a lot of them come to mind. And so thank you for watching my discussion video on the Naruto live action movie. Hope you guys have a nice day. Bye bye.